Okay, so today, guys, we are back with Punt or No Punt, and today we have a new guest on the channel. It's going to be Jake Jenkins, aka What Happens in Vegas on PokerStars. Jake, how you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You may notice that we are wearing dressing gowns today, and that is due to Jake's affinity with dressing gowns, especially while he's playing poker. And we thought there was no way we could actually do this without both wearing dressing gowns for the occasion. We also both have a drab of whiskey. Jake, what do you have? What do you have today?
Glenlivet Founders Reserve. It
Absolutely
was a last-minute purchase ahead of deciding to do this today.
Wonderful.
And yeah, that's the job.
I've got a Talisker Darkstorm, which you can actually only find in airports, funnily enough.
Oh god, that must be old then, given I haven't been able to go to one for ages.
Yeah, I haven't had it. I haven't. Well, this is the last of it, and I haven't been able to buy one for a year or so. So I'm glad to bust it out for such a special occasion. If you don't know Jake, Jake's a part of my Discord. He moderates my Discord and also my stream. And I'm really happy to have you on today, bud. Are you excited to play Punt or No Punt?
I am very excited. Also slightly apprehensive, given the hands I've chosen. But yeah, let's roll with it.
Lovely. So if Jake, if you haven't played Punt or No Punt before, or if anyone's new to the channel that hasn't played Punt or No Punt before, here are the rules. Basically, a contestant today, it's Jake, or What Happens in Vegas. He will bring on 5 hands, and we will decide if each of them are a punt or not a punt. 5 hands to have a score at the end where we can have a winner. Either Jake is punting, or Jake's play is actually quite good. Now, from what I've heard from Jake, and I'll allow you to have a disclaimer now, Jake, you're not expecting much from this. Do you want to give a little disclaimer about your play before we look at it?
Yeah, so I guess very brief background. I played as a bit of a kind of a live whale for the last 10 years or so, kind of while doing kind of my own job on the side, and recently decided I want to start playing poker a little bit more seriously. So doing stuff like joining Nick's Discord, been watching the streams, speaking to other people in the Discord, trying to improve my game from incredibly passive, which I think is what it was described as before, to pretty rogue now. So I think I've kind of overcorrected, as we'll see.
Okay.
And yeah.
Great. With all that out of the way, just one more thing before we begin. Is there any chance I've seen any of these hands before? Obviously, that's a stipulation in the rules. I can't have seen the hands before. So, Jake, are you happy? Are you content that these hands could not have been seen by me before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
So I don't stream or anything, so.
Perfect. Yeah. So, without further ado, What Happens in Vegas? Let's get hand number 1, which is Ace Jack offsuit. Are you ready?
I'm very ready. Let's go for it.
Let's go. Just before we start, guys, we are going to have another bonus hand section today. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the live footage like I did last time, but Jake, on occasion, is known to play some rather high stakes, namely some 500NL/1KNL, also whilst inebriated. And so I thought, if we can't really have him on and not look at one of those hands, unfortunately, I had seen the hand already, so we couldn't use it for punt or no punt because those are the rules. But I cannot stress enough how great this hand is, and if you'd been there, you'd enjoyed it even more. So what we're going to do at the end, with Jake's permission, is we're going to have a look at that hand very briefly so you can see what I'm talking about. And it is at 500 zoom. So I think that's right, isn't it, Jake? 500 zoom.
Yeah, so, it's just a 500 hand.
So let's first of all go and play punt or no punt, and at the end we'll have the bonus hand for you. Let's go. So on our first hand, we have Ace Jack offsuit on the button, and it folds to us, and we make it 3 big blinds. 3 big blinds seems a little bit big. Jake, what do you think?
So I play mainly kind of at the micros. I don't play particularly big stakes. So I do 3 big blinds from small blind, button, and cutoff, and then 2.5 from under the gun and middle position. I've recently moved up and have changed that. But some of these hands, I think this hand was probably 16 NL.
Or maybe.
Oh, this is 25. Okay, well, this is before I updated my bet sizes. So I have changed this now. But yeah, I don't know. I prefer just to play bigger pots. I mean, the rake's so high, the bigger the pot, the less the effective rake is.
It's definitely fair, and I'm not really going to argue the difference in EV between 2.5 and 3, especially not tonight while we've got our dressing gowns on and the whiskey out.
I mean, trust me, if you wait till you see the rest of the hands, my opening size is not the issue that you're going to find in these hands.
Let's have a look. So versus 3-bet, I don't mind some 4-bets. I don't mind a call. Defending seems just fine.
So I split... with this hand, I'll tend to split probably 50-50 roughly between call and a raise.
Okay.
This, I think, was a guy... I think this was a really just new guy to the table. And I think a 4x 3-bet is okay out of position from him.
Yeah, fine.
But yeah, so I was happy. I think with that kind of size, I'd probably just err on the side of flatting versus someone I don't know.
Yeah, seems good. And our opponent goes for a small c bet, which I think is pretty reasonable. We're probably going to be doing quite well for 9x, I would say. Probably a tad better than him. Depends how often we're going to be defending 9-8 and 10-9. I wonder if you know if you're defending that pure, because he certainly shouldn't be 3-betting that pure. So I'd imagine we have a few more 9s, but his bet size seems okay. I definitely don't want you to do anything but raise here. Sorry, but call. The whiskey already settling in. Definitely don't.
I was going to say, if you'd like a raise, yeah, I can get behind that, I guess.
Yeah. No, we're definitely only going to call.
No, calling, got overcards, flush draw, backdoor flush draw.
Yeah, definitely a call. The turn is the 4 of spades, and our opponent checks. Now, we have a decision whether to begin bluffing with our ace of spades or take our equity to the river. What are you thinking, Jake, when you see this turn card in general?
I'm very pleased to see a spade. Obviously, it's one of the better cards for us. I'm pretty happy as well that he's kind of stopped betting into me. I guess that if I want to, I guess I'm thinking about this position. If I get to the river and I just have ace high, it probably isn't great against what he's 3-betting. So I want to, I guess, maneuver myself into a position where kind of whatever the river comes, be it a good or bad card, I can at least put him to a really horrible decision.
Yeah.
Unless of course he's playing something like, I don't know. I mean, even if he's got something like 10s or queens or whatever here, I want to basically put him to a difficult decision. So I would like to think I will bet an amount that will basically mean I can just shove the river, but at quite a high, like it'll be like quite a high percentage of pot shove. That'd be my guess. That's probably what I would do here. Just so, yeah, basically spade or not spade, I can make it more difficult.
Yeah. So yeah, either betting, small to half pot or checking. I think both are okay. There's a good chance that you're winning already. But if you were up against something like ace king or ace queen, then it would suck to show this down on the river and end up losing. So definitely with the ace of spades, I'm thinking that we can start putting some pressure on here. I don't mind. I think a check either.
I think he can have some pairs here with the spade, which would check as well.
Yeah.
And I'm losing to these as well. So yeah, putting myself in a position to shove the river is what I'd be going for, which is that just over half pot.
Yeah. And obviously we have a very, very good blocker in the ace of spades. So like a lot of his best hands that will be checking this turn will be the nut flushes, which he can't have now. And also like stuff like aces, potentially with a spade. I think those are going to want to check a lot. So blocking those is going to block quite a few of his very best checks on the turn. So being aggressive, I think, is very, very reasonable. Once we see this river and a check, I can't imagine wanting to check this back. I don't think we're ever going to win. And we have very significantly good blockers to his best hands, like I just said. Like, we want to unblock his folds. Now, how good of a job do we do of that? Potentially, he could have something like ace king with the ace of spades that would check call the turn and check fold the river. But I don't think it's a huge deal. We definitely do a good job of blocking, obviously, aces. We do a great job of blocking the flushes that he can have, which he certainly shouldn't always be betting the turn with. And we also have a pocket jacks blocker, which I think I can't see any reason for him to do anything differently with here. So I think this is a pretty good opportunity to wager all the money, to be honest with you, Jake. How do you feel about that now?
I don't remember the outcome of this hand, but
okay.
Given what I did on the turn, I'd hope that I'd shove. I don't really see the point of doing what I did on the turn if I don't shove this river. I think if I see an ace, if I see a jack, I think I'll probably take showdown.
Yeah.
If I see an ace, I guess it reduces the chance he has as an ace king or an ace queen. I probably take showdown anyway.
I agree.
But I don't think ace high is good enough here for showdown. So I'm glad I shoved it.
Yeah, there's little to no.
Well, okay, it's not good enough.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I had the balls to actually shove it, because that's not always. Well, definitely, I think pre me wanting to change my game, this was definitely somewhere I would just check back in the past. Yeah. So
I think this ace of spades gives us a pretty good indication that we're really never ever going to be able to check back and win here, because the ace of spades is like one of the only cards that we're really going to want opponent to have that could potentially check call this turn and then fold and then have a worse hand than we do on the river. So when we do have that, he's just going to have like, pocket tens through kings that slow down a lot. Do I think we're going to get our opponent to fold that all that much? I'm not sure. I'd be wary of trying to get an unknown, like you said, a new player, trying to get them to fold over pairs in this spot. But after, like you say, after we bet the turn, which I think is a reasonable thick play, and after we get to this river with very, very little showdown value, I can't see any other reason to do anything other than go all in. So you might be getting the gist, Jake, and this might make you feel quite good to begin with, that this is not a punt for me.
That gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside.
Are you sure?
Either that or the whiskey. I was going to say, I think it could be the whiskey,
yeah.
But
anyway, I'm happy to go with no punt off the bat.
Lovely.
And before, I always give I try to give my results, but sometimes I get click happy before the verdict. But on this occasion, we'll go with no punt, and our opponent does fold. So
okay.
We're very happy to see that. Jake, you're up 1-0. Thoughts before we move on?
Very happy to be up 1-0. What do you think he might have folded? What do you think he got there with?
I would say
a king high scorer.
I don't think he should be
board way with the kings.
Yeah, I don't expect him to check call for you versus your sizing with the bare king of spades, because if you're betting with something like the ace of spades, then he just like is so dead. So I don't expect him to call with something like king queen off. No, if that's what you're suggesting with a spade on the turn.
Is this just a?
So I think that like I said, you're never really good here. I think he's going to have maybe a stubborn ace king with the king of spades, maybe that hand.
I suppose.
And also stuff like pocket tens, maybe pocket sevens with a spade, maybe eights, maybe jacks. Obviously, and queens he's going to have. I'm not sure how often he's going to fold them. I wouldn't be surprised if our opponent folded queens without a spade. That seems fairly reasonable. I don't think that many people are going to be bluffing in this spot, as from what he's used to, I would imagine. So anyway, enough said with that, man. We're up 1-0, which is a good start. And we'll go on into
happy days.
Yeah, we'll go on to hand number 2 if you're ready. So in our second hand, we have king 8 of clubs on the button, and we're up 1-0, which is great. We're opening to that 3 big blind again, and opponent again on the big blind is going for 12, and we decide to defend. Any notes on the frequency that you'll be defending king 8 here?
About a third.
Okay.
Roughly a third. I don't think I'm ever doing anything crazy here. Okay. No, this is just a third, 2/3 fold.
No problem. And we see deuce 6 7 2 clubs. Which is obviously a pretty decent board for us. And our opponent goes for an over third pot, between third pot and half pot bet.
It's that kind of 40% pot bet that you see.
Yeah, which I don't mind from him. And in your position here, I don't want to see you do anything but call. If we raise and get jammed on by like ace high flush draws, then we're in a really bad spot. I definitely don't want to see you fold. So yeah, we're just gonna call in position here, play some turns. I like it. 5 of spades on the turn, and our opponent checks.
Something to get excited about.
Right. So this is obviously a great card for us. I definitely don't want to see us check. In terms of sizing, what kind of hands are we going to have? We're definitely going to have some 9-8. We'll probably have some sets, some frequency here, because we won't raise them all on the flop. Generally in position, you don't really want to raise unless you really need to get the money in. Unless your hand needs a lot of protection, and I don't think that sets are going to fall into that category too often on this board texture with this SPR. So I'd like to see you bet somewhere in the region of like a third pot to slightly bigger. As I guess an argument can be made for just popping this in. You're never really going to be in bad shape, but at the same time, you're not really going to want to do that with like sets and 8-9. So I think that with your whole range, like a smaller size bet works well with the stack to pot ratio and also with your entire range. You think that's fair? Yeah,
so I'm definitely getting here the same way with sixes and sevens. I don't know how much I'm flatting deuces. Sorry, I just lost the hand for a second. Okay, well I know what the hand is, I think. And then, yeah, I don't think I'll five. So yeah, I think again, like, I think similar to the first hand, I'm always wanting to basically get to a position where if I miss, I can just basically bet an amount that is just grim for them out of position. Does mean sometimes I get snap called,
right?
But yeah.
Anyway, I think that, like I said, I like a small bet. I think this is probably a little bit too big, just ever so slightly. I like somewhere a bit smaller than this, maybe just somewhere around 20 or below. Just sets up the stacks quite nicely for the river, and it makes a lot of sense with our strong hands as well, to get value with those. So I think this is maybe a slightly too big, but I don't think it's a huge deal. We're definitely not verging into pump territory yet. He goes all in. Right. So now we need to call what? 50 more, and we're getting 2.89 to 1, which means we need 26%.
Yeah.
To win here.
So I guess now we need to look at what I think my outs are. We're up against the 3-bet pre. So obviously I think he has some suited, I mean, he has, pretty much all the overcards, suited aces with clubs. I don't know, and you probably know better than I do, how much people are 3-betting lower mid pocket pairs. I imagine they're probably flatting more of them.
Yeah, I don't expect to see many sets from our opponent here in general.
I think I think his range is probably weighted to overpairs and suited aces.
Yes.
Maybe if he wants to mix in a bluff, I mean, I don't think he is ever going to do it, but say an ace king with the ace of clubs, or basically an ace of clubs blocker.
Yeah, I don't expect to see that too often.
No, but I think the way I look to do is, if our straight and flush outs are clean, we've got about 35%. If he's doing this with kind of tens, jacks, queens, that kind of stuff, we've got about 40%. If he's got ace X clubs, we're pretty screwed. But we've still got our straight outs, so that's what I mean. That's 106, 6 clean outs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at this point, I think I'm gonna call. Yeah. I assume I call.
I think if he's ever gonna, well, it's in here, so we probably do. I think if he's ever gonna like have jacks and queens, like you said, we're just going to be on average, even though sometimes he's going to have ace 5 of clubs, right? And that's going to not be very nice. It's not like we have 0% equity against ace 5 of clubs.
Well, then we still have kings, we still have eights.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we have like
fours.
It's very hard to be in absolutely awful shape. I mean, like he can't have ace king of clubs either.
Yeah.
Even with it, so if he's got ace queen, at least our kings live. Yeah,
I think this situation is going to be a lot closer for you. Had you sized smaller? By betting 24.80 on the turn, you kind of just said, right, I'm not really folding this hand anymore. I don't think, given the odds and given the whole range our opponent is going to have, like we've just talked about, I don't think you're going to be able to fold now. I don't love it, but I think it's fine. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and call here, given the whole range our opponent could show up with here. Obviously, we're going to need to make a hand a lot of the time, but we're never really going to be dead. Pretty much, there's very few hands he could have that have us dead, because he can't have 8-9 of clubs, right? So
I don't remember what he had, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we're not even dead against something like that anyway. So
I don't think we can be dead. Yeah. So
no, we're going to go for the call. What I should probably do is turn off equity. We're going to go for the call, and our opponent shows up with queens, right? So if he ever has this, then we,
okay,
our equity on the turn is, if I go back to show equity, if it's going to be,
it's got to be about
41%.
40. Yeah.
So we're getting. Yeah, this is just a price that you've given yourself a price by betting the amount that you did on the turn. So it'd be interesting if you'd bet smaller and he'd gone all in. We'd have a closer spot. But in this case, I can't overly disagree with the turn sizing, and I can't see any reason to overly disagree with the turn call. So again, this is not going to be a punt, Jake.
Very happy with that. Yeah. This one had some some back and forth.
Yeah,
I think in the past. So yeah, very pleased.
So I'll go ahead and give you a 2-0 on this one. And do we get there? No.
No, we don't.
No. But we were getting the right odds. But the problem I have is we gave ourselves the right odds, right? By the sizing that we used on the turn. So
I'd like to say that was part of the plan, but
well,
I'd be lying.
I'd like to see what people think about that turn sizing. I think that is pretty much where the line between punt and no punt is going to lie here. Once we bet that sizing, I don't think we can fold. It's just a matter of whether that bet sizing is going to be relevant here. So let us know what you think. But I'm going with no punt. And we're going to move on to hand number 3. So Jake, we're 2-0 up, which means we only need one more win to take down this series. How are you feeling? I feel like you've massively underrepped your abilities here, or just brought some significant non-punts and just bought yourself a win. How are you to respond to those accusations?
I will happily open up my database to you, and you have also watched me play.
Yes.
At various games,
yeah.
And yeah, I think you might have a feel for my game. We played a bit together as well, so
true. I mean, I don't get to see your hands very often because I have to fold a bunch to you, unfortunately. But I don't think I'll be folding much anymore. I'll tell you that much for free. So we've got Queen 10, Jake, and we're opening from middle position, which is very, very fine, very, very normal. Sorry, very, very fine. That's the whiskey talking.
Good. We like it.
9 big blinds from big blind, which is not big enough. This hand I'm probably going to mix, but versus this size, I'm just going to pure call. Think that's fair?
Yeah. So against a proper sizing, I'm probably going 50-50 call or fold. But yeah, here I'm very happy to call.
Yep. We flop. Okay, this looks like it's going to be pretty hard to punt on, if you ask me. We flop an open ender, and I think much for the same reasons as in the last hand, I like to go ahead and call here. I'm not really convinced that we need a raising range here with our sets because they don't really need all that much protection, although obviously we don't want to see a 10 or an 8 too often. I think generally speaking, being in position here, I think we're going to play mostly calls. Any thoughts on whether you want to develop a raising range here? And if you did so, what would it be centered around?
I'm trying to think why. Right, so I'd like to think here I called, but if I raise, it will be kind of my new kind of mindset. Basically, I want to be a bit more aggressive. I think I've got a straight draw, I've got a backdoor flush draw, but I think realistically, if I was going to build a raising range here, I'd probably be wanting to go to maybe 9s and 7s. I'd be raising here, like kind of lower sets. I'd probably happily kind of flat top set, but then I'm probably gonna. I don't know if I am 4-betting here.
No, I
with Jack with a Jack middle position, big blind.
I think you're mostly.
No. I would just be calling here.
So I don't think you're going to want to watch. I don't think you're going to want to raise pocket jacks. I think if you're going to raise some sets, it's going to be 9s and 7s. You're not going to have any 2 pairs. I don't think. You might have Jack 9, I guess, against this sizing, but will you want to raise that? Probably not. So I'm a bit concerned if you start raising all your Queen 10s. I mean, I guess you only.
You can all. Can you? I mean, if you. I don't know if you want a flat range here, but say you raise 9s and 7s. I'm trying to think what else I'm raising to, like an ace. I don't even know if maybe ace 5 of spades. Do you raise against it? Or I'm trying to think what you raise to balance it. I'm just trying to think what you raise.
Something like King 10. With
King 10.
If you wanted to make a raising range here, if it consisted purely of Queen 10 suited that have backdoor flush draws and then 7s and 9s, I guess that would be okay with me. But I think it makes a lot of sense to have a lot of very good hands here when you call as well. Obviously, you can have pocket jack, so that's great. But I think when you do raise here, I'm worried about what it means when you call. I don't mind, like I said, making a raising range around bottom set, but also at the same time, I don't think it can ever be bad to just call here. We do decide to call, which I think is obviously reasonable. And we see the deuce of clubs on the turn. We'd obviously have preferred a spade. Our opponent checks, and I definitely want to start putting some pressure on now. I would have expected to see some bets from clubs, but for example, if he did have something with clubs in it, then obviously that's something that we will be able to get to fold maybe on later streets. Our opponent can definitely have overpairs here, especially ones that contain clubs in them that don't need as much protection. So Obviously, we block queens, but kings and aces with the club, I expect our opponent to have a lot. Maybe even like top set that he didn't want to check flop with. I think it would be quite a popular check for him on the flop, but if he didn't check that, then certainly could be checking that too. But at the end of the day, we do have queen high, and our opponents showed some weakness. Potentially, our opponents are going to be a little bit unbalanced towards, give ups when they check this turn. So I think starting to apply some pressure is reasonable here. And we do. And sizing wise, I think this is probably just about okay. I don't mind going a tad bigger, but I think this is fine. And our opponent calls.
Kind of, is that half pot? I guess.
Yeah. Villain checks again. Ah, God, Jake. I don't know if we got these in the wrong order, but I guess you're going to go all in. Our opponent could have bet overcards that have clubs in them. He could have bet. So he may well have bet those on the turn a bunch, right? But he could be check calling with them. We do block pocket queens, which is like pretty good. We do block the nuts, but that's not that good because he's not really ever going to be 3-betting 10-8 suited. So the only problem that I have is that Queen 10 is going to be a hand that I think our opponent could have quite a bit. Probably not Queen 10 of clubs. I think versus your sizing on the turn, he does probably have to call, maybe jam. I'm not convinced on that one with Queen 10 of spades. So my concern is that while we do block queens, which I think will be a popular call, we don't block top set or middle set or bottom set. Bottom set's much less likely in these positions. Obviously, top set he's going to have a bunch. Aces with a club, kings with a club, queens with a club. Definitely going to have all those hands, I would say, probably all the time. And I think betting the turn without those clubs is probably going to be my preference here. But at the end of the day, Jake, we have queen high on this river.
I think I'm looking at it now. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to start taking your side a bit here. I'm just trying to look back at it because I don't remember.
I don't know if you know what my size is, but when we get to the river with queen high here, we can't win. So I don't know if jamming can be that bad. Yeah,
but the flip side is nothing. Like if he's called turn, nothing's changed. What's stopping him calling? Like, I don't know. I don't want it to get to. Well, I mean, I don't really mind what the score is, but it's like, I guess if I'm looking at it now, if I was villain, nothing's changed.
Yeah, I mean,
why would I fold? I mean, I know why you fold rivers because it's not like mid stakes or anything, and you don't think like that. You just think, oh, I've got nothing, I fold, which is probably why I took this line. But
yeah, I think that a lot of
I really like getting to this point where you have a between like 2/3 and pot size shove, because it just puts people in bad positions.
Yeah,
but
if he's playing,
I think this is one of those positions where nothing's changed. Like, so say he had like an ace jack or a king jack. What does he do if I shove?
Yeah, I guess what you're getting here is my concern is how much of the time. Like, obviously we unblock clubs which will fold, but will he not barrel those at a high frequency on the turn? Is he going to have, I think what you're alluding to here, is he going to be having like a lot of sets and a lot of overpairs here, and none of those hands have any further reason to fold? I do think that you represent strong value quite well. I don't know if you're going to have 10-8. I don't know if he knows whether you're going to be raising that pre and then defending that versus raise. If you're going to have... It's just tough to say what you're going to value, like apart from 7s and 9s, what you're going to jam this river with. But jacks, I guess, as well, for sure. So you do have probably 9 combos of very, very, very strong value here. It's very close.
Old me gives up.
Right.
So maybe some of these hands are slightly colored by the fact that the way I have looked at poker for so long, that this feels like maybe a more difficult decision than some of your previous guests might. This may be a snapshot for some people. I think through the lens I'm looking at it, and especially even looking at it now, it's like, if you call turn, what's changed?
I think that's a great point. I think if we're going to say punt, it's going to be because our opponent called it. Thing is, he didn't call a large turn; he called a half pot turn bet.
Well, and that's kind of like, that's why I like having a larger shove on the river. And because I also think people will call turn with top pair and then fold river when nothing's changed. I think people do like like even on a completely, I don't know if undynamic, non-dynamic is a word, but like on a card that does little, I think some people will still change their mind on the relative strength of their hand.
Right. I've got to make a decision here, Jake. So I'm going to break down the factors we've got here at play. Number one, we block his queen 10, which is bad. Okay. The board didn't change in its texture. It didn't get any scarier. It's a great card for villain if he had aces with a club, kings with a club, queens with a club, pocket jacks, pocket nines, which I think are going to do this a bunch. Bad. What's good about our hand? We have queen high and we can't win if we check. Number one. We unblock.
I mean,
clubs.
that's my favorite bit.
Yeah.
We can't win.
Yeah, we unblock clubs, but how often will our opponent just barrel clubs rather than checking the turn? I'm not sure. Well, how often will he check? If he did check them, how often would he check jam them? Something like king, queen of clubs. So how often do we then get to this river when him having clubs? Does it matter that we unblock them? Is he going to... What other stuff in his range that calls turn, if not clubs, folds this river, apart from stuff like queen 10 that we have? I'm not sure there's much that we can expect a random 25 or 16 and L in this case, reg, or whatever he is. I don't think he can be a reg because his sizing is not very good pre-flop, which makes me want to bluff less, honestly. I have a lot of sympathy for this spot, but on the basis that we are 2-0 and I just don't want it to be over, I'm just going to go with punt.
I'm happy with that. Very happy.
But I think there is consideration to be made here for all those the points that we just made. Like my initial reaction was no punt, but do I expect a random player that's missizing pre-flop? Those players that are worse, generally, I expect them to be stickier. We block something like queen 10, which I expect him to a lot of the time check this turn with and never fold to a bet, and then always fold to a jam. He never has 10-8, so we don't block that. We block queens, which is one hand that we can get to fold. So I'm actually okay with saying this is a punt. But I think this is, I honestly think this could genuinely go over the way, and I think this might be a little bit harsh. But for those reasons, Jake, I'm going to go for punt. And also, I just don't want it to be over, man. Not yet.
No, not yet. No,
I'm
more than happy with that.
A little bit. Anyway, we spent a long time in this hand, so we're going to go with punt.
Punt.
Which means you're 2-1 in the lead heading into hand 4. Let us know what you think
Love
about
it
that in the comments. I think that's a really interesting one. I'm glad that you brought that one on. My initial reaction was no punt, but then I sort of gravitated towards punt for several reasons, not all of them fair. So we'll move on to hand number 4. I didn't show you the result, guys. Our opponent calls.
I was gutted as well because I don't remember.
Right, our opponent calls, and he has queens with a club.
There you go.
So yeah, definitely one of those hands that we expected him to have. Unfortunate. And given what we've talked about, I expected him to pretty much call you down quite a bit here on the 5 of hearts. But anyway, unlucky. 2-1, hand 4. So it's hand number 4, and we have 10-9 of diamonds in the big blind with Jake up 2-1. He could well have pulled out ahead in that hand, but for various reasons, he did not. So now we need this one. Based on what I've heard about hand 5, Jake, we may well need this one. Would that be fair?
No. You're good. You're good for. Oh well, it depends which perspective you're thinking of, but yeah, hand 5 is not a good one.
Right. Okay. So obviously we always use a special hand for number 5. So 10-9 of diamonds, mixing between 3-bet and call.
Probably yeah, but I mean, I'd like to 3-bet this kind of hand. It's probably 75% 3-bet.
Any reason you're going particularly big?
4 and a bit. No, probably not. Probably not.
Fine. That's fine. It's not a huge
fancied
deal.
it.
Yeah, not a huge deal. Any notes on villain number 16 before we move on?
Yeah, so we have played a lot of hands together. It's anonymized here, but if you play 16 and L, you will have played with this guy.
Okay.
I used to see him in the pool a lot. He has properly good, like solid stat.
Okay.
It's anonymized here. Yeah, so he plays 24, 18, 11.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite a big gap between PFR and VPIP, but
not necessarily recommended gap, but
no, but he's not,
right. He 4-bets. Have you got any 4-bet frequencies there for me, Jake?
I'd have to open his thing. 4-bet after 8%.
Okay, that's pretty high for for 16 and L. So we go for the call now. Obviously, we're getting an okay price. We're at our position. Obviously, if you have a lot of information on this guy, and you're probably thinking, right, okay, we're just going to take this guy on, I would imagine. I don't think this is a great hand to do this with, 10-9 and diamonds. We're going to be like dominated a little bit. I'd almost rather you call with like 7-6 a bunch. I think I'm probably a fan of just letting this one go, to be honest with you. But we did make it slightly larger, so his larger than normal 4-bet is not like... I mean, we're getting 2.8 to 1, right? So I certainly... I'm not in punt territory, but I think I'd rather let this go.
Yeah, so yeah, this is part of some ranges that I've decided I'd like to play with. I've kind of worked on some ranges and I've decided that this is part of it. And so we're going down game trees we might not usually look at.
So how often is this featuring?
Well, good 3/4 of the time.
Really?
And when I say we're going down game trees we don't usually look at, I do little to no work in solvers so far. But
so every game tree is not one that you usually look at then.
No, but I'm mainly thinking of this guy. This guy strikes me as the kind of person who would.
Okay, that's fine. So we do call, which I don't think is unreasonable. Okay, well, we'll see at the river then.
We get the world.
Yeah, so I'm just check jamming. I think. I mean, we're in a 4-bet pot. We flopped a straight flush draw. I just can't see any reason not to check jam. Yeah, I'm all in. Yeah, Jake, this is not a punt. Are you just trying to win the game?
No, I'm happy to lose this hand.
I mean, look, the only possible way this can be a punt is if pre-flop is a punt.
To be fair, it was more about the pre-flop, but
yeah,
so that pre-flop is where I've had a lot of debates in the Discord about some of my plays.
Have you discussed this one with them?
Well, I very briefly, I didn't tell you about like any of the results or anything, but I did say this was a punt or no punt from 2 perspectives.
Okay.
So I'll let you know that villain tanked a long time on this hand.
Well, the villain's sizing is questionable at best. Because when he bets 37, we don't have any decision, but he might as well just go all in. Because, like, how can we just call? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're either going with our hand versus the sizing or not. Like, I don't know why, if you wanted to bet here, you wouldn't just choose a smaller sizing, right? What do you think about that? I know you say this guy's a reg, but I do not agree with this.
No, I don't know. I didn't say it was a good reg. He's a guy, so a guy I see a lot. Enough. As you said, he's got a reasonable, but I'll tell you what, for the purpose of scoring, I'm happy to own his hand here as the punt or no punt.
Right. So you want me to score him?
Yeah, score him.
I mean, well, his bet size on the flop is just a punt. If he's tank folding, or he's tank calling or tank folding, then it's a punt. But yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'll judge how I see fit. If you're asking me to judge his play, then I'll do both. But I think for the purpose of the scoring, it's only fair to use your hand. We go all in. He calls after a tank. You say?
I mean, like a full time bank tank.
Right. We have 10 high and we lose. I mean, I want to know who this is after I've finished this hand. If you really want me to score his play, I mean, it's just the worst. It's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. If you're watching Villain 16, I'm sorry. This is dreadful. You need to get in the lab. Did you say this guy was someone that you thought was going to be in the lab a lot?
I would imagine that you could make that call against me.
Me?
Yeah, I reckon you could probably assume I was full of shit.
But he's bet third. Why? If I would, even
I suppose on the flop. Yeah.
Even if I wanted to bet the flop, I would just fold to your jam because I would make it less. I'd have a very, very easy fold. The only reason he's even in this situation where it's very much like your hand with King 8 of clubs, right? You gave yourself a price that you
engineered yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't make his play remotely good, right? It's just very bad. So Villain 16 gets a punt, but you're going to, even though pre-flop I think is ambitious, but you know, if you have your ranges, you have your ranges, and I think they were crafted probably quite well given what you've told me about them. We're going to have to go with no punt for you, which means Jake, what happens in Vegas? you are today's winner, but we do have another hand which will maybe hollow out the victory.
Yeah, I mean, if you could negatively mark or double point hands, yeah.
Well, that's depending on how bad it is. We may mark you down.
Yeah.
But let's go on now into the final hand. We're into our last hand, and it's King 6 of spades in the big blind. Now, it falls to the small blind, who opens. King 6, I guess at some frequency you could consider 3-betting. This time we do. I think the sizing is a definite mistake.
Yeah, so that is a mistake.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if anyone else uses stars caption, but I just forgot to size down because I basically usually 3-bet from there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is
usually out of position.
9 big blinds if you're going to 3-bet. I think this is okay. If you're going to 3-bet, obviously make it 9. I'm not going to. Oh, I mean, for crying out loud.
Here we go.
Right.
Get on the roller coaster.
I mean, he's made it 30 big blinds. I definitely don't want to call because our hand is like just not very good. He's made it 30 bigs, which is like a massive raise. So we're getting a really bad price on the call, which means the only options we have left are fold or jam. We have King 6 of spades in a 16-L game. Just fucking fold, honestly.
So I reckon it's at least some portion call. And I'm not even going to say low frequency. It's not that low. I do a lot worse than this.
Mate, are you okay? Let's just play it out. I've said what I think about pre-flop. We're folding. We peel.
We're flat.
So
we absolutely peel.
So and we're a victim of our own play as well because we made it 12 and then our opponent made it 30 and then we call 30 big blinds. We're not even deep. We're 100 big blinds deep. So like I can't even get behind this in any way, shape, or form.
To be fair, yeah. This is well, look, let's go. I think my notes were I actually have notes on this guy. Just play him post flop.
Right.
But I don't know if I wrote this
with an SPR
I probably
of
wrote
1.
This after.
Did it say with an SPR of 1 next to it? I don't think so. Anyway, he checks. I mean, look, I don't know what the fuck's going on here anymore. I don't even know how to analyze this, especially after a glass of Dark Storm. I guess
I would imagine, and given where we are, I think we have to bet. Not because it's probably solver approved, but because he didn't bet.
Well, when he checks, like I don't mind attacking weakness a bunch.
Yeah.
The problem is we block ace king. I guess it's not a huge problem, but like, do I expect our opponent to have something like 10s and jacks and then folds a small bet? Not particularly. Do I expect my opponent to have lots of aces and kings and queens? Probably. Having said that, we do, I guess if we're speaking optimistically, we have an overcard, we have a backdoor straight and flush draw. Maybe we could bet small here and maybe just go with our hand on the turn on a spade, 7, king. I don't know, man. We should just never be in this pot. I don't
think. But so a lot of I think this is, good spot. We've got a lot of backdoors. I mean, it's not a good spot, but we got to bet. I hope we bet.
We do bet. I think you can probably just go smaller than this. But I think this is fine. Quarter pot seems good. He calls. I mean, I don't even know what the hell is going on now. Right, so there is a 7.
Great turn.
I mean, do I ever expect my opponent to check, call, flop, and then fold this turn for an SPR of 0.5? But I can't see how we can't go with our hand now we're here. But why are we here? Why on earth are we here? You check it back.
Check it back. Because like, I think someone could legitimately maybe be, because they know what the SPR is, they basically think, well, let him bet, and if he doesn't, I can just go with it with the river, because it's if he bets the 52 big blinds, whatever, I'm getting 3-1 to call. So my kind of thinking is, if he's not betting this, it makes it easy on the river.
Right.
No, I don't know if that's entirely true, but basically it made more sense on the river, but I was pretty sure that, basically check this and then reevaluate when you hit a 5.
So what I like about our hand in some way is that when we check back, not our hand. I think our hand is shit. But when we check back and our opponent checks again, I don't expect him to ever have a value hand like that often.
Don't play your hand. Play your range.
Right.
Imagine what else I could have here. I could have a lot, I think.
Right. Anything that doesn't want
Could
to
have queens.
pop it in on the turn.
Ace queen.
But you're going to pop that in on the turn, though, aren't you?
Well, no, but it doesn't matter then. Like that's what I'm kind of saying. It does. Like, okay, that's the point I was trying to make. It doesn't really matter because it will just go in on the river.
Right. Okay. 10 of hearts, I guess. Our opponent checks again. I mean, look, we can't check now. We cannot check now. If we check now, like this is just like an abomination. It's already really hurting my head. Rule in.
I shoved. And because he 4-bet pre and then checked 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just has to have like ace king or some horseshit.
I mean, look.
But what can he have? Like, what can he have?
Pocket tens, maybe. Ace queen.
Well,
kings, maybe aces. I think.
Can you count
queens.
the river as a blocker?
Look, man. I think tens. What I'm saying is, I think tens is one of the hands we could probably get to fold, and now we probably don't get it to fold. I'm just concerned that he will have some traps. Obviously, he can have ace king, but remember, he did call a turn bet. You can't just call the turn with ace king high, like without diamonds. I don't think. You know. So, I mean, this is just a punt, like absolute, complete punt. I have no doubts in my mind about this one. I don't care.
I don't know. We called the 4-bet and he checked 3 times.
No, you called a 4-bet.
Oh, I called the 4-bet and then he checked 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't like. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you that attacking.
I just feel that at this point he can have, unless he's literally just drilled like a set of tens. If he calls and he has a set of tens, fine. But otherwise, I just don't think he can have anything.
I think I've seen.
I just don't. I do not. I don't think people will check it 3 times, but I'm very happy to be wrong because I'm wrong quite frequently. Right. As today proved.
I mean, look, this is a punt. I don't want to spend any more time you leveling me with your smooth talking into getting me to say this is not a punt because I've made my decision. Oh, of course we get the fold. I mean, results based, clear best play of all time. I mean, look, this is just wild. I'm glad.
This is a little bit like when you called aces earlier and Hurley felt it was probably a fold.
Oh, this is nothing like that. This is nothing like that. This is nothing like that. Look, anyway, you won 3-2. I am tempted to deduct marks. What we might do is have a bonus hand. We'll see how we're feeling. And yeah, the definite punt. But Jake, I guess you've won. Like I said, hollowing out the victory with this absurd hand, but it definitely feels the mantra of hand number 5 special hand. I think you'd agree, and I'm glad that you brought this into.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I actually was quite proud of that hand.
Okay.
I'm still
comment section
personally.
What do you think about hand 5? I think this is probably like one of the more interesting hand 5. I mean, we've had some amazing hand 5s. This one is definitely worthy of, like I said, of the mantra. Anyway, we're going to take a bonus hand now. Jake owes me it after this one. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So let's go and take a look. So as promised, guys, here is the bonus hand. You may notice that we're at 500 NL here, 500 Zoom. Now, Jake, do you want to explain to the viewers why on earth you were playing 500 Zoom when you're regularly playing 16 and 25?
Yeah, we were having a couple of drinks at the weekend and we tend to play a bit bigger. We can't go to the casinos at the moment. I like playing a little bit bigger live. I know I am hopelessly outclassed. This was at 2-5. We played quite a lot of 5-10 as well. So yeah, hopelessly outclassed online, but we had a few drinks. And this is actually a hand that Nick reminded me about. You can go into it, Nick, but yeah.
I mean,
I didn't know this hand happened. So
I saw this live because you were sharing your screen. I wasn't helping you. Obviously, I wouldn't dream of it with these stakes.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I don't remember it, I wasn't going to be listening to advice.
Yeah. Anyway,
I probably had an idea of what I wanted, and yeah.
So you were playing 500 Zoom, and you don't remember this hand. I had to bring this to your attention, and I had to ask you for it. because you don't remember this in any way, shape, or form. Is that correct?
I mean, I had to download like the full version of Poker Tracker, find and import the hands.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, mate. Love it.
That's fine. Anyway, button opens to $12.50. We've got the money in there just to make it a little bit more painful for you. I mean, the bonus hand. Let's not spoil it. Actually, let's not spoil it. We go for the call, which we're going to do at some frequency for sure. We see 6, 7, 8, 2 diamonds. And
I mean, have you ever seen a board that smashes our range more?
I remember you saying this at the time. It's like, oh, this is just. But anyway, we check, and our opponent goes small, and we elect to check raise to $36.
Yeah, that's not good.
And this is
I don't. Yeah.
No, Jake, this is really bad. Like,
yeah,
really bad.
Yeah. So the rest of the hands,
we don't have a diamond. Just because a board smashes our range, and by the way, the button's doing absolutely fine as well, by the way. Just because a board smashes our range doesn't mean we get to raise with our entire range, which is basically what you're saying you're doing here. Anyway, we raise, and our opponent calls. The turn's the 10 of spades, improving us to a king high. We still,
not cut shots.
We don't.
Yeah, no.
This is probably an inclination into why we played this hand like we did, because Jake's been drinking this evening, and obviously it is inhibiting his ability to read the board correctly.
No, we've got a gut shot to a potential chop. That's what I meant.
Right, fair enough. That makes sense. We go for a barrel.
I really hope I don't.
With absolutely zero equity whatsoever.
I was about to say, I really hope I don't shove this at any point, but it looks like I'm setting up for one.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Even if he calls, I'm not.
Obviously, if we are going to be betting, we want to have some form of, equity when called. We certainly don't want to be completely dead against a lot of our opponent's continuing range. We absolutely are. Yeah, we are punting wildly here. Our opponent calls, and I mean, what we river the chop card, and
oh, fuck.
And we
please tell me I don't shove.
We go.
I haven't seen this since.
We all in, presumably because we blocked King Jack suited that obviously would call.
We blocked King Jack, Queen Jack. I mean, this wasn't going through my head, but this wasn't going through my head when I did it.
What exactly? Okay, so hang on. You block King Jack and Queen Jack that call a check raise on the flop and then call the turn.
Mate, honestly, I don't remember the hand, so yeah.
Okay, well,
whatever.
we give away $380.20, and our opponent goes for the call. And he turns up with Jack 9 for the turned nuts and a river, obviously a very easy call. I showed this hand to Ben a bad beat, who you know quite well, afterwards, just to give him an idea of what exactly was going on. And quote, he said, "This is the worst played flop and turn that I've ever seen in my poker career."
Did you like the river?
I did not. So how do you feel about that? I mean, this is obviously a punt, and we're not including it in the scores, but Jake, any opinions on this situation?
Shrug it off, move up.
Move up. Fair enough, man. But thanks for sharing this with us. Very good sport.
Just thank you for reminding me that it happened. I was really happy not knowing it happened. But yeah,
I'm really glad you dug this one out for me. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it. We're gonna go and wrap up with a conclusion here right now. So that's gonna do it, guys, for this episode, dressing gown edition of Punt or No Punt with Jake. What happens in Vegas? We're going to have the end screen as Villain 26 sits on a massive pile of Jake's money. And deservedly so. We did end up pulling out a win in the regular game. I think you brought some hands which were, quite favourable to you, I would say. But also hand number 5 was phenomenal. And also it's a very close hand which we maybe scored quite harshly. But I think you deserved your win. And obviously for your heart and commitment and your entertainment value in the Discord and for moderating my stream, I'm definitely happy to have you go away with the win here. You're a great sport and I really enjoy having you around. So thanks so much for coming on the show today.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'd happily come on again. It does not take me long to accumulate many of these hands.
Wonderful. Well, we can definitely, if I'm sure there'll be demand, we can definitely sort that out again. So for now, guys, that's going to do it. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do subscribe and drop a like on the video. It does really help me out. For now, guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.